Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Real Talk with Sacha. I'm your hostess, Sacha Johnston. Today, my guest is an entrepreneur, an inventor, an all-around interesting guy, Mr. Glenn Felty. Glenn, thank you so much for joining me today.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
So I've been learning quite a bit about you this week, and let's start with you were born in Costa Rica but raised in Venezuela.
Correct.
And your parents were missionaries.
They were.
I mean, that had to be a pretty interesting upbringing.
Traumatic, if you want to know. Some call it traumatic, so, some call it great. It was great, actually.
So I was curious, what kind of things that did you experience in Venezuela as a kid that you don't think you would have otherwise got to in the United States?
Well, it's a great question. Being in a third world country like that, and I have to say it was far different there than it is now, right?
Right.
So it was actually a nice place to live. Of course, there were always political issues, but never off the grid or off the rails like it has gotten. But just being in that nature, we lived at about, I think, 8,500 feet, small town, beautiful people, super nice. And we had access to great mountains. We had access to the beaches, off the coast that were absolutely beautiful. So I would say it was, definitely a great way to grow up. Some great experiences. It
seems like you kind of hung on to that love for the outdoors because you are actually an avid outdoorsman. I know you ski, and what other kind of things do you participate in?
Well, I love to ski. It's probably my number one love. Was a competitive skier for many years, and I golf. I hike, mountain bike, pretty much anything that you can throw out there, I'll do once.
Right, and we are in a perfect place for all the outdoor stuff.
Yeah.
So, but you actually grew up all over. I mean, after Venezuela, you moved to New Jersey. Talk about a stark contrast.
I will never forget. Now, mind you, in the 11 years that I lived in Venezuela, we were back and forth to the U.S. Multiple times. Not a lot, but multiple times. But I'll never forget the one experience when we finally came back. I think I was 11 years old, and it was late. I think we got in at midnight or something like that at Newark Airport, or it might have been JFK. I don't remember. It's been a long time. But sitting in the back of the car, just wide-eyed at the lights, the malls, the strips. We had none of that. I mean, we didn't have TV, in Venezuela, and so it was just I'll never forget that feeling of driving. We're drowsy, we've been sleeping, and I'm just driving, looking at all this stuff, going, "Wow, this is crazy."
Well, I mean, it must have been a pretty impactful moment for you to remember it still today.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine what that's like. You essentially grew up in a Central American jungle environment to move to a city environment. As a kid, that would be a huge contrast.
Yeah.
But I mean, it seems like all these amazing experiences and places that you lived kind of helped you become this really incredibly interesting and very ingenuitive person, because you actually invented a product.
I did, and just as an intro to that, I'll say, as I think back, I go, if your parents are in that field of mission work, whatever, they're entrepreneurs. Seriously, if I had to look back at where I got that determination from and the drive to create, that would be, probably a good place to look. So yeah, I created a product called the Umbrella Buddy. Let me tell you, this was hot. I wish I had one. I should have brought one with me.
I wish you did.
I have two on my desk
this.
at home just to remind me of my roots. And this was my first real foray. I've always been an inventor, always had an entrepreneurial mindset. In fact, my why, I don't know if you're familiar with Start With Why or the Why Factor.
Why, yes.
So my why is to find a better way and share it with the world. And when I discovered that 2 years ago through my friend Gary, I said, everything makes sense. Because everything I've ever done was like, I can't tell you how many times a day I go, there's got to be a better way. Seriously, I'll catch myself, opening the trash can going, gosh, there's got to be a better way. And so, I created this Umbrella Buddy, and it was designed to hold, because you lose your umbrella back east, where we had them all the time. You'd lose them all over the place. Where did I leave my umbrella? And you're in the car. So this little Velcro holder would attach to your car door, trunk, closet at home, anywhere you were, and then you'd stick your umbrella there, and you should always know where it was. Unfortunately, it was a failure. It wasn't a failure; it was a learning experience.
Exactly.
I did not lose my shirt. I did lose money, but I didn't lose my shirt. And But it was great because I actually, spent months of working on. Did you know that to get an adhesive to stick to a vinyl dashboard or car part, you have to have there's plasticizers in there. So when the plastics in the car get hot, the vinyl gets hot, everything comes off, right?
Yeah.
So I ended up with a 3M product that we researched and tried and tested that was plasticizer resistant. So kind of cool. So all that to get to this little product that I retailed for $4.99 and had, we sold, I think we sold a couple thousand of them, but it was never tipped. And then to be frank, I got so busy with my radio business, ad sales business, it was a no-brainer on which way to go. So
I've seen something like that happen with someone I used to work with. I helped him do a product launch, and he had this great idea because he was a golfer. And he made these tags with serial numbers on them and put them on golf clubs. And the idea is if somebody turns in a golf club, they could call this 1-800 number, know who that serial number belonged to, and get your golf club back.
Okay.
It was a great idea. Unfortunately, it didn't take off, kind of like your Umbrella Buddy idea.
Yeah.
And people are still losing their golf clubs on golf courses to this day.
I had a friend who was a distributor who would go into as seen on TV products and stuff like that. He told me once, he said, Glenn, there is no rhyme or reason to a product like this. Like, this is a great product, makes sense, looks great, all that. He goes, remember the Pet Rock? And that's the analogy, like the Pet Rock, who would buy that? But the guy's you guys have made a fortune off of Pet Rock. So it's timing, it's product need, it's all of those things. So.
Yeah, unfortunately, not all good ideas end up being good ideas in the long run. But I do believe that these are learning experiences and opportunities to grow. And now, you're an entrepreneur in much bigger ways. So. Right. We actually have to take a really quick break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about some of the community events that you're involved in, and some of them are even ones I'm involved in. Perfect. So you guys stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Dreamstyle Remodeling has been wowing homeowners in New Mexico since 1989. Selected as Best Custom Home Remodeler for 3 consecutive years by readers of the Albuquerque Journal, we're also your exclusive provider for top home improvement brands like Renewal by Anderson, Four Seasons, Blaze King, and many others. Founded and headquartered in Albuquerque, Dreamstyle Remodeling is family-owned and now employs more than 500 people across the southwestern U.S. In fact, we've helped more than 60,000 homeowners improve their home in New Mexico, Arizona, California, Idaho, and West Texas. We're committed to providing a superior customer experience. We've earned 4.6 stars with hundreds of online reviews and have an A+ with the BBB. Dreamstyle Remodeling is a proud supporter of UNM Athletics. Visit our beautiful 10,000 square foot showroom at 1460 Renaissance Boulevard across from Sam's Club or dreamstyleremodeling.com to make your home remodeling dreams come true.
Car Crafters, proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
Are you sure we're supposed to be doing this?
Don't worry, I've watched him do it 1,000 times. Come on, what's the worst that can happen?
No! Bad dog!
Hi, welcome to Car Crafters. What happened? Don't worry, we'll make it like it never happened.
Car Crafters, it's like it never happened.
What is glamour? Frailty. What is desire? Diamonds. They say a life lived without passion is hardly worth living.
Ma'am? Ma'am? Ma'am?
Dang, this one made me feel all special.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us back on Real Talk with Sacha. I'm here today with Glenn Felty, and Glenn and I have been talking about all the interesting things he's gone through in his life. Now, Glenn, I got to meet you because we are both involved in D Neon Blanc.
Right.
You are a group leader, as am I, and have been, I think, for longer than I have, as a matter of fact.
Probably the evolution of being a bus leader and then a group leader.
I did
seems
the same
longer.
thing. Yeah.
Seems longer. It's only year 4 for me, so.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's
Then
only my
the
4th
same
year.
for me. So
Oh,
I'm
is that right?
4th year, and I couldn't imagine life without it. That's one of the few things I'll miss. But What inspired you to first get involved with Dîner en Blanc?
Well, I was an attendee, right, the first year and had a blast, and somehow am plugged into the folks that are, that were at that time that were doing the arrangements, and got asked, to get into this bus leader thing. I go, okay, well, let's do that. I like to do new stuff, and that went well. And then, of course, the current leadership team, got to be friends with them, and it was kind of one of those things. I remember Sarah asking me last year, "Hey, how about being the group leader?" I'm like, I want to do one more thing, and she's like, no, it'll be fine, and it was great. So the bottom line is it's an adventure. We were talking about it earlier.
Yes.
It is such an adventure. You don't know what's going to happen. Certainly a lot of things can happen, and you just roll with it, and that's kind of the way life is. So
I think that's why we have so many people who want to attend year after year the event, is because it's such an adventure. Right. And people with that kind of a personality who are just ready for that unknown to happen, right, they tend to enjoy it. Now this year you're actually a major sponsor of the event, correct?
I am, or we are.
Well, yeah. So how did that come about? Is that something you've been wanting to do, or you really are inspired by what they try to do and what it does for our community, and decided you wanted to be a bigger part?
Well, we're local, right? I mean, my business is local, and we really press hard on that fact. We think that that's important for what we do, and so I love the fact that this is something that's bringing energy to Albuquerque. I'm one of those, I guess you call them glass half full guys. So I would,
me too.
I look at it differently, right? I mean, we want to look at shine a bright light on the great
Correct.
things about this town, and build a movement behind that. And so Dîner is one of those things. It's just so cool, and it's such a time to come together and celebrate and have a great time. And we just decided, they asked me if we would be a sponsor, and we decided to, as long as we could collaborate and make something really great out of it, we would, and we did, and we are, I should say.
I was really happy to hear that you were going to be one of the sponsors this year, and I'm passionate about this event for the same reason, because it showcases the absolute best of Albuquerque. Right. The best locations, the best views, the best people, the best time that we could possibly have, and I think we don't do enough of showcasing those positive things. Right. So I was super excited to hear you were a sponsor this year, and I understand that you are a strong supporter of your community, mm-hmm. and so I know you're also looking for other good causes to sponsor with your business as well, because you want to kind of pay that forward.
Yeah. I mean, we're in that exploratory phase right now. There's things that we've done, but we'd like to figure out what makes great sense with what we do, especially as it relates to solar and renewable and clean energy and all that. What would be a good fit for us? So we're still looking for that. So if somebody has an idea, they're welcome to reach out.
And I would recommend that. I know we've put your website on the screen, and we'll also have it in the description box. So if people have a good idea how to have Glenn sponsor a energy efficient business or some good cause, then they can reach out to you. Yeah. So you own Sun State Solar, is that correct?
I do.
When did you start Sun State Solar?
So we started last year, so March 2018, and
so 1 year business.
About a year and a half. It's been unbelievable. It's been fantastic. And I tell people, I still get homeowners, that say, "Wow, you've only been in business a year and a half." Well, how do I know? And I immediately I say to them, Toys R Us, Blockbuster. I go down the list of 50 and 100-year-old companies that are gone, Barnes and Noble, that are gone. What does that mean? The world we're living in is no longer about resting on your laurels and what you did. It's what you're doing and what you're going to do. And so, it's not my first rodeo. And I've been successful in other businesses, and I decided to apply what I've learned. Certainly I'm not perfect, but always be a student and trying to learn how to do it better. In our case, keeping overhead and costs as low as possible, reasonably possible, being nimble, so that we can navigate with the ebb and flow of business and so forth. And we're excited. A year and a half in, the company's doing really, really well. And
now you're able to do sponsorships, and you're in that part where you can expand.
Yeah, I mean, this is no small sponsorship with Dîner en Blanc, just for a one-time event. So
Well, and I mean, first of all, we have 300 days of sunshine here, so you couldn't have a more perfect environment for solar.
Right.
But on top of that, it seems like you would be able to take those lessons learned from all your entrepreneurial and inventing experience and apply them to something where the technology is already known, but the industry is still so new, it needs some innovation.
It does, and I think a lot of that innovation can come on how to, just the processes of how to streamline things for the homeowner, make it simpler and simpler, that process so they feel comfortable. I think a lot of people don't ever look at it or think about it and don't do anything about it because of there's fear. There's unknown. It must be complicated and it must be expensive.
Right.
That's the two things, right? I hear all the time, well, they can afford it. I go, no, if you have a utility bill, you can afford it because you're already paying that bill. So, I think there is a way to innovate, and we're always looking for also new product to bring to what we're doing already, that can maybe give us a competitive advantage in the market.
See, exactly. So that entrepreneurial attitude, you had to invent an adhesive that worked inside a car, so know that sometimes you can just make what you need.
Yeah,
and I think that solar is probably a good industry for you to be in, being an innovator yourself. And I think that it could use that. So that's pretty good. I think you're probably in the perfect thing for you.
I'm not sure that I'll invent a new silicon cell of any sort. That's out of my scope. I might know somebody who could, and we can get it done.
I was going to say,
right?
I actually might know a guy.
Oh, that's funny. I know a guy.
Well, I know my dad, he's a scientist, and he used to work on silicone wafers. He's actually a microelectromechanical engineer, so we'll have to talk about that later.
I need one that's a foot wide by 6 foot. I've got a special project that I need to get 2 pieces made for. So
he used to make them so that you could fit more information on smaller ones. Mm-hmm. And then he made ones that were so tiny they were going to paste them onto plant cells and shoot them into space.
Interesting.
So whatever you need, I'm sure they can work that out with you.
It's an exciting time.
It is. Well, Glenn, we have to take another break.
Okay.
But when we come back, we're going to talk about how solar is changing things. Because I know you have this information, and I sell real estate, and this is a conversation I've been excited to have because we get a lot of misinformation too.
Sure. Yeah.
So you guys hang tight and stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
The service department at Gala Chevrolet is clean, modern, and ready for you. Our master technicians service every make and model, including certified service on any GM vehicle. Service done right the first time, every time, right here at the all-new Gala Chevrolet.
Dream Style Remodeling has been wowing homeowners in New Mexico since 1989. Selected as Best Custom Home Remodeler for 3 consecutive years by readers of the Albuquerque Journal, we're also your exclusive provider for top home improvement brands like Renewal by Anderson, Four Seasons, Blaze King, and many others. Founded and headquartered in Albuquerque, Dream Style Remodeling is family-owned and now employs more than 500 people across the southwestern U.S. In fact, we've helped more than 60,000 homeowners improve their home in New Mexico, Arizona, California, Idaho, and West Texas. We're committed to providing a superior customer experience. We've earned 4.6 stars with hundreds of online reviews and have an A+ with the BBB. Dream Style Remodeling is a proud supporter of UNM Athletics. Visit our beautiful 10,000 square foot showroom at 1460 Renaissance Boulevard across from Sam's Club or dreamstyleremodeling.com to make your home remodeling dreams come true.
What is glamour? Frailty. What is desire? Diamonds. They say a life lived without passion is hardly worth living.
Ma'am? Ma'am? Ma'am?
Dang, this one made me feel all special.
Car Crafters, proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
Are you sure we're supposed to be doing this?
Don't worry, I've watched him do it 1,000 times. Come on, what's the worst that can happen?
No! Bad dog!
Hi, welcome to Car Crafters. What happened? Don't worry, we'll make it like it never happened.
Car Crafters, it's like it never happened.
Thank you for joining us again, everyone. I'm here today with Glenn Felty, owner of Sun State Solar, and my good friend. Glenn, so we were actually talking about solar systems, and this is such a new thing. I mean, it really hasn't been around that much that long because it wasn't affordable enough for homeowners to consider it as a possibility. But now, not only is it a possibility, it's becoming common. So I wanted you to kind of explain, first of all, I know that there's two ways to get solar system.
Right.
There's a lease option, and then there's where you buy it.
Right.
So I want you to kind of explain the differences to me, because even as a realtor, I don't understand fully what the implications of both are.
And also, I always tell people it used to be that only homeowners that had a ton of money and cared about the green aspect could afford to go solar, right? And now that's totally shifted. The number one reason people go solar is for cost control and saving money. So that's all shifted around. But yeah, there are two ways you can, or there's actually more than two, but two primary ways: leasing or buying. And when you lease a system, you don't own it. You've got a 20 to 25 year lease term on something that's fixed to your roof, screwed in many times. And if you go to sell the house, oftentimes it's a complicated transfer. As a realtor, you've encountered this. So it doesn't add any value to the house. It actually becomes a liability in many cases because of that. Now, when you own it, of course, if you sell the house, now it goes with the house, and you can finance it. Of course, I tell people all the time, if you finance the system and you have 5 years left on your term and you want to sell the house, you're going to pay that loan off at closing anyway. But you're going to get more, you should get more for the house because of the solar. It's just another home improvement. I always compare it to when I did windows and stucco on my old house, and I had a loan on that, and I sold the house, and of course I got more for the house because I had beautiful windows and stucco done, right? And we just paid that loan off at closing, we were done. The difference with solar is that you're replacing an existing cost that you have every single month till you die with the utility company. Right. And so it's the only thing, probably one of the only things in your house that you have that you're already paying for, that you can replace with something that adds value.
So I just spoke to someone recently who has a solar system on the house that they own, and they were telling me that they have no utility bill, and that they pay at, what is it, $15 a month just for the hook-in fee so that they
Typically
can read
it's about
it?
$8.
Or
it's $8.
That's what it was,
Yeah.
$8. So I was like, you pay $8 a month? He was like, yeah. And then the cost of the solar system, the financing that he did, was actually less per month than he was spending on electricity. So he ended up saving money by getting a solar system put on his house. And I do know, because I had to give him an evaluation for his house, that his home value increased during that time. So I was pretty amazed. I've also seen it where there was a leased system on a home. The buyers did not want that system and made the company came and took it off the house, because the terms of the lease were just too restrictive for them. They were not comfortable with it.
It happens. Yeah, no, there's no question in our mind, and I think, to be frank, all the local solar companies do not lease your product. I always tell people, like, doesn't that tell you something? Because we could. We all have access to the same financing mechanism to do that, but we just don't believe it's in the homeowner's best interest. The other thing is, too, you don't get the tax credit. So if you lease a system, you don't get the tax credit. The company keeps the tax credit.
That's the other thing. There is a tax credit for putting a solar system on your house. And do you have a few details about that you can share, just so?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's 30. This is the last year for 30%. So at the end of the year, it'll step down to 26% for next year, then 22, then 10, then out. So it's in a phase down unless something changes. But it's essentially it's 30% right now against your federal taxes owed. So if your system's 20 grand, you're getting $6,000 tax credit against your taxes owed. Yeah, no, it's
that's pretty significant.
It's pretty cool. And there's no sales tax, gross receipts tax on solar here too. So the state's really giving you an 8% savings as well.
It does seem like they've put a lot of things in place to make it a lot easier now for homeowners to purchase the systems, have them installed. And it is becoming more commonplace in real estate transactions, as I've seen. So it definitely seems like, I remember 10 years ago when there was nothing down in Los Lunas, and now, have you driven down there by the Facebook
I'm down
plant?
there all the time.
Okay.
Yeah, we're down there all the time for appointments, and
So,
no, Facebook's crazy, right?
The size,
glass.
yeah, it's crazy. And I mean, I've driven past there, I think it was last week, and it's bigger than like the entire University of New Mexico complex. It's just solar panels.
Sacha, you bring up a great point, and I always chuckle when I get somebody like on our Facebook posts or ads or whatever, some naysayers, some haters that say it's a scam, and I go, I have to laugh because I go, you think that the Academy, you've seen the Academy's
Yes,
solar
I
field?
have.
You think the Academy invested in solar, you know, without a lot of thought,
Yeah.
or Facebook, or, you know, it's, the train has left the station. There's tens and tens of thousands of people that have no utility bill because they've got solar, and it's been that way for years. So, you know, the biggest thing right now is just, for New Mexico, is getting the word, is becoming more mainstream. You know, we're still
can see
behind.
it.
We're behind. With all the sun that we have, we're not even in the top 20 in, you know, installed kilowatts or gigawatts or megawatts of solar, you know, in the country, in states like New Jersey and Vermont and Michigan, and these places that have a fraction of the sun have exponentially more solar going in. I mean, it's almost like, hey, you don't have solar, what's wrong with you? You know, it's
Right.
becoming very mainstream.
Well, one thing I also thought was interesting is, you know, a lot of these people who have solar, power goes out, their power still works.
Yes, but that's, depending, you need to have battery backup for that.
And
So
I
if you
do
don't
know
have
that,
battery
yeah.
backup, that's
Yeah.
the catch, right? A lot
There
of people
is another part
there
to
is a
the
catch,
system.
and we are fortunate. I will say that our utility here is one of the most reliable in the country. I don't know if you knew that. I mean, how often do you really have an outage that's of any significance here?
Yeah,
in
we
town?
haven't in several years, I know.
Yeah.
So, and I live in Paradise Hills. We don't seem to have problems with losing electricity.
Yeah.
And even with all the thunderstorms we've got this year, there hasn't been a problem. So.
I've worked with the Paradise Hills Association.
Yeah.
Yeah, to get to, you know, we were talking about HOAs earlier.
Yes. And so let me ask you that. What about a home in an HOA? Have you done an installation, and how did that go?
Yeah, many, and you know, all the HOAs are a little bit different. Of course, some of the communities are run by the same HOAs,
Right.
HomeCo or whatever, and we work with them all. The reality is, I've never had anybody try and stop a process. It's just sometimes they want some cosmetic, you know, governance over how it's put in. But no, we handle that for our customers. They don't have to do anything.
Well, Glenn, we're almost out of time, but before we go, I want to give you a chance. If people want to find out more about Sun State Solar, if they have questions, where can they find that information?
Best place is probably just go to sunstatesolar.net, sunstatesolar.net. Make sure you put the .net in, not the .com, or sunstatesolarnm.com if you want to put a .com in. But that's the best place to get us, or you can call us at 505-225-8502.
Awesome. Glenn, thank you so much for joining me today. You have been
Thank
a
you.
wonderful guest, and I learned so much about you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And we want to thank all of you for joining us on Real Talk with Sacha, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Good night.